Hey, welcome guys. Ben's gonna get started in a few minutes. He's in the shop. I'm hanging out at home, but love to hear where everybody's from. Hey, Bruce, good to see you again. You're a regular on these things. I guess I should have introduced myself. I am the CEO of Toolpath. That I'm a machinist by trade. That I don't know how I ended up here, but I get to represent this brilliant team. Houston, Connecticut, Minnesota, Indianapolis, all over the place. Ontario. I'm in California, in the mountains in California now. We do actually have horses. California is a big state, but for the Ontario guy, I'm from Ontario. Ben, why am I the only one on camera? Where are you hiding? You still there we
Hey
go.
guys,
Ben
I'm in
Ben's
here.
got Ben's got the cool setup. It's not even a Zoom background.
Yeah, it's not virtual, right?
Bunch of Ohio people. You're gonna have to do this thing for reals, Ben, and invite people to the shop.
Well, I was just about to say, Travis, you are welcome to come up to the shop and play on the Speedio, and we'll make some parts. Well, we'll make some chips, hopefully a usable part.
You just had somebody come by and visit this morning, didn't you?
Yeah, crazy. So I'm the content manager. I'll introduce myself and stuff later, but I was snooping around our LinkedIn, and I think somebody was chatting with Al on one of his posts, and I literally saw his name and then like 10 minutes later saw that he was in our shop. So he's got a shop about 2 minutes from here. I think his name's George Bain, if any of you guys know him. But real cool guy. And we got to show him Toolpath. Justin showed him the shop, and yeah, it was great.
Yes, John, you have an open invite. John Saunders is a board member. I don't think you have a key for the shop
I
yet,
think he has the
though.
key, right? Yeah.
I don't even have a key for the shop. Why don't I? Actually, I probably do have a key for the shop. I keep accidentally bringing it home with me.
We'll come visit you anytime too, John.
All right. Well, we'll let people keep trickling in, but I think now is probably the best time to start it. 2:05.
All right, we'll turn my camera off, but we'll be here to answer questions in the chat. And Ben, I'll interrupt you if there's a urgent question. But other than that, it's all you.
Yeah, please do interrupt. So yeah, I'll just start. So you guys know why you're here today. You want to learn more about Toolpath, and we're excited to show you what we've been working on. And what I really wanted to do was go through hopefully like a 5 minute demo of just showing you how I'm using Toolpath, using it in the shop to produce this part. We have this part. I mean, you can see it on the screen, but that we're going to be running through Toolpath today. And I think you'll get a lot of value just seeing from start to finish. It is going to be kind of like a quick ask questions later, just watch and follow along. And then once I get the part on the machine, then we can kind of dig into the weeds a little bit more. So without further ado, let's talk about defining AI for CNC. That's kind of the whole reason we're here on this webinar, is to hear what you guys think, not just about Toolpath, but where Toolpath fits in your workflow. So we actually have a significant amount of time slotted for us at the end to answer questions, concerns, anything that you guys might have. And then also feel free during my demo to be hitting everybody up in chat and the question and answer section in Zoom. So we also have other Toolpathers here. So we've got Scott, Paul, and Al, and then plenty others, I think, in the chat. So they're happy to help you with anything while I ramble on. Cool. Like I said, we're going to do a Toolpath demo. Then we're going to send the part to the machine, do a little bit more deeper dive, and then Q&A. And before we jump in, just wanted to let you know, kind of a shameless plug. I'm the content manager here at Toolpath, so I get to show off all the cool things that we're working on, try to be, part of the community. And so we have a YouTube channel that kind of ranges from podcast and how to use our product to Tim's Geek Tips, where he just does deep dives on Fusion because he's all geeky and nerdy like that. And then we also have Learn Toolpath in 20 minutes, which is a deeper dive into Toolpath on on how to use it and specifically for onboarding. Okay, so I'm gonna hop out of our slideshow and we're just gonna take a look at Toolpath and make this part today. So before I show you kind of the whole workflow, I actually want to show you starting in Fusion. So one thing that we just recently came out with was being able to kind of take your part that's already in Fusion, you've already done the work on it. I put in work holding, I have my stock and everything created here. I meant to delete these toolpaths. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So I've created these setups, right? So if I highlight this setup, I can see my stock gets carried over. So those are ready to go. Now I just want to tell Toolpath, hey, I've done the work to get everything in my work holding. Now you program it. So we have an add-in where we can send this part to Toolpath. And what's going on here? It's like,
Yep.
I'm not seeing.
It showed up on my screen. I can see it.
I can't see it. Okay, there it is.
It's hiding behind your
cool.
Zoom window, probably.
Yep. Let me organize here. Sorry about that, guys. So I'm going to send op1 and op2 that I've already set up in Fusion. Click OK. And what's going to happen here is we're going to open up a new instance of Toolpath. And our part is getting dropped into Toolpath with respect to all of our work holding, the work coordinate system, everything in Fusion, so that we're not losing any of those references. You can, of course, take a part and go straight into Toolpath, which I am going to show you here shortly. But while that loads, I actually have the part ready to go. So here's our part. I get a nice quick overview of it. There's no red on it, so that tells me we're ready to go. We're ready to machine this. All features are machinable. 100% machinability score means that the entire surface area is machinable. And it's using my Shop Brother aluminum cut config. And well, what is a cut config? It's just a fancy term for a tool library that's set up to work specifically with Toolpath. But the Shop Brother aluminum cut config has all of my tools that are in my brother's Speedio behind me. Well, it's not my brother's Speedio, but so we can, of course, turn on our banana to get an idea of how big this part is. That's super useful. It's a fun feature, but super useful. If we jump over to setups, I can see that I have 2 setups, and actually I created these setups. But if I jump into like setup 2, contour surface, I can highlight each individual feature, and then it will show me what tool is being used for that feature. So we have a 1/8" ball end mill. It's doing the surfacing. I can see everything about it, the speeds, the feeds, the step over, etc. Again, tools out of my 35 tools that I have ready to go in my machine, it's using 5 of those. And I am going through this quick. Just want to show you guys how cool this is. So, and then we have our strategy tab, and this is compiling all of our operations, or actually our features, into common tools. So for tool 4, we have roughing, face finishing, etc. I can click on that. I can see all the parameters associated with that. Very similar to what you'll see when it goes into Fusion. And then I will touch more on this later, but then we get a full-blown estimate, because if we can machine the part, we should be able to estimate it. So I get $147. So here's the real magic. We have this export to Fusion button. It's really fun to click. It copies a special key, and then we jump right back into Fusion. And I want you guys to see that these op1 and op2 are completely empty. If I click in import into current document, what Toolpath is doing is it's taking control of Fusion now, and it's auto-populating all of our setups that we spent, time and effort to get those all dialed in. So it's programming the part, and you can see how quick that was. It even auto-generated it. And these are real toolpaths brought over from Toolpath. We can dig into the CAM later. I do want to get this part set up so we can machine it. I can show you what it looks like later. But this is the workflow, and this is the workflow that I use a lot. But let me put you guys on hold. I will actually, let's see here. Sorry, guys, I'm trying to find Zoom again. Can you guys see the CNC machine?
Yep.
Cool. I'm going to get this part set up in the machine. We'll get it running, and then we can dig more into Toolpath as to how I went about machining that whole part.
Yeah, so I guess what Ben, you showed so far, there's the new bit to the workflow that says you can start in Fusion and guide the system, set some things up. What you want to think about is Toolpath is going to make decisions for you without you having to think about it. And that's kind of what our initial stuff was, just throw a part out and we program it. But the ultimate vision is you should be able to feed it as much or as little information as you want to get the result you want. In this case, it was fed with some setup strategy. You're muted, Ben.
I'm back. I just realized you guys can't hear the machine, but it's making chips, I promise.
I think the audio on the machine's actually a little extra noisy, so you might want to turn that cancellation back off.
Yeah, for some reason, sorry, I muted you by accident just then, Ben. But yeah, for some reason the machine audio is coming through on this one pretty
Okay.
strongly.
Is this better?
Yeah, it's fine now. I think it was just when you switched. I think it was just when you switched to the camera inside the machine, actually.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, the part's running. I'm going to show you guys a little bit more about Toolpath. I know I ran through that really fast. That was on purpose. So,
and just quickly, sorry to interrupt you again, Ben. When you go before you go to share, can you change your screen resolution so that it's not ultra wide and is in 1080p? It's just a bit small to see for people to see the UI.
yeah.
Hopefully that doesn't throw a spanner in the works for you. Otherwise, can you just share the window, maybe?
That kind of screwed some things up. You just need me to make my window a little bit bigger.
Either zoom in, yeah, because the UI is really small for people who are on non-ultra wide monitors.
Okay, this is about as good as I can do without it getting too distorted.
Let's have, I can't see your screen at the moment.
Yeah, all right, I just started sharing now.
Sweet, I think that's okay. Yeah.
All right, cool. So the next kind of workflow that I wanted to show you was just going straight from Toolpath, right? So we don't need to worry about Fusion. I'm going to jump into the projects page, and this is where we can kind of see our current projects that we've worked on. They're filterable. I'll show you that in a second, but I can just simply go to new project. Let's type in webinar. It remembers my past input. And of course you can throw emojis in there. So I had to throw one in there. Click OK. And now I'm going to upload, our part. So if I go to documents, I've got this bell crank. And one thing that I want to do actually is show you guys tool recommendation. So I'm going to have this part upload with our tool recommendation engine. I meant to do that beforehand. So, okay, so I've uploaded the part. You can see that it's processing right now. If we hover over it, we get a nice rotational view. I can add different tags. So I'm going to tag this as webinar. And now if I need to filter quickly to get to webinar stuff, I can do that. If you have a lot of people on your team, you can also filter by uploaders. So let's reset the filter on that and click into the part. And while this generates, of course, we do have the banana just to see how big the part is, but we did just recently add section view. So I can click on any face and then type in an offset. I can even scrub through this or pull the arrow. So if you have maybe a more complex feature with some hidden geometry, that's a great feature to have to be able to look at the part a little bit better. Okay, so this part is just about loaded up. And oh, there we go. Cool. So we can see that this part actually has some issues now. And the reason being is I purposely removed a end mill in order to machine these pockets. So Toolpath, because I have tool recommendations set up, it's actually recommending me a Harvey 141 thou 3-flute flat end mill. If I click this, it shows that it resolves 2 machinability issues. It highlights the issues. I can basically just add that to my cart and then regenerate. In fact, let me go ahead and do that. It's going to take another minute, so I'm just going to go to the part that's already been regenerated, which I believe is this guy. There we go. So that's accepted our Harvey 3-flute flat end mill. Now we can see the part is fully machinable again. So that's really where the power of Toolpath comes to play. You can set up your own tool library and examine the part based on your tool library. But if you're missing something, Toolpath will be able to highlight that and it will be able to recommend a tool. It doesn't always have to be a vendor tool. You can set up like an auxiliary tool library or anything like that. But in this case, I have a Harvey tool library set up for that. Let's jump back into setups because I didn't do anything with creating the setups on this part. This didn't come from Fusion. This was a direct upload from to Toolpath. So Toolpath has decided exactly what the setups are. I can click on the Show Machining Directions button and get a nice colorized idea as to what features are being machined in each setup. So here's the first setup. I can see them all over here. There's the second setup. Let's hop over back into that contour surface. And if I want to get to that contoured surface, I can even click this turn on mouse over feature, which lets me just kind of hover over any feature and then click the feature to learn more about it. If I didn't want to surface with that ball end mill, and I was like, Toolpath, you know, you're crazy. I'm gonna surface something else. I can click change tool. And now in this case, I don't have any tools in my tool library that can surface. But if I had an additional ball end mill, I could select that ball end mill and tell Toolpath to use that. So you definitely have quite a bit more control over Toolpath in that regard. Again, you know, we have all of our tools here. I can click into the tool, see more about the details, the diameter, length below holder, and such. We can build tools inside a Toolpath, which I'll show you here in a second. And then the presets that this tool is allowed to have. So for automation, in order to, this is kind of getting a little bit more into the details, but essentially every tool needs to have an assigned preset, which is kind of based off of the feeds and speeds, the step over, everything that's allowed to do for that type of material. And so in this case, this tool has all these unique presets, which are associated with different feeds and speeds. So we can see that. And then if I jump back into strategy, again, we have the ability to look at the different features for each setup. Something that is coming in the next few weeks, I just jumped over to our staging side, is if you click on this roughing, we see the features associated with it, but now we have the ability to edit any parameter to our liking. And now this is actually going to update the global tool library. So for this tool, this tool 3, say I set it to 15,000 RPM instead of 16,000. And then I can tell Toolpath to accept those. I think I need to click enter. Yep. And then save. We are still working on it, so maybe that didn't accept the changes. And then it will auto update. And then before you go to post it to Fusion, then you have those changes made. The last tab I want to show you is the estimate. And this is especially useful for if you're a job shop and you have a lot of parts coming through, maybe Bob is the best estimator that you have, but he's been around for a while. He understands what parts are good and what aren't, and what can hurt you, what tools you might not have. This kind of levels the playing field. So you can give anyone in your department, in your shop, the ability to use Toolpath, and you're going to get a consistent estimate every single time. So it takes that kind of tribal knowledge out of it and allows others to be able to accurately estimate. We can set up multiple presets. So if you're running brass, you could flip to that, which is going to change possibly your machining rate, most definitely your material. We can set up our setups based on a fixed or hourly rate. So this is a very very fine tunable user interface that kind of lets you build out that estimate. It's not a full blown quoting system. It's an estimate based on trying to machine the part with your tool set. So you can see we have our $350 grand total for this tool. And the other really nice thing about this is I can look at my setups and see, okay, so what setups are expensive here? So if I jump back into this estimate, I know that this one has, oh, okay, so this one has 2 hours. I thought I changed that, but I'll show you how. So you're like, okay, well, why is that 2 hours and 52 minutes? You can see that this contoured surface, if I click into it, each contoured surface is an hour and 10 minutes long, which is just kind of ridiculous. But if we look at our ball end mill, we can see that there's a 1 thou step over. And that's probably way too fine for this type of part. So we can actually change that, and I can go into the cut config that's being used to examine this part. Jump into tool libraries, and I can find that tool, which is our tool. What is it? It's a ball. There it is, our ball end mill. Click into it, go to Alurot surface, and then change the step over. Now, actually, I've already done this, so this must have been a different cut config. But essentially, this would have been 1 thou. We can change that parameter to 10 thou, reload everything, and then we would get a different estimate time.
Hey Ben, how's your part looking? Maybe we can go take a look at that. And I see a couple questions Paul started to answer, but Paul, do you want to answer some of those questions live?
Yeah, let me stop the share and you guys can see it.
Yeah, sure. I can answer some questions. Somebody give me the first one to start with. I'm scrolling through. One that came up was part sizes. So right now, Toolpath has a maximum part size of 80 by 50 by 30 inches. Of course, any of those numbers could be in any direction. Somebody asked about minimum part size. I haven't found one yet. I mean, there's some settings in Toolpath for like, your default deviation limits and things like that. To be totally honest, haven't tested that below like in the range of a 10,000th. Yeah, if you're working with truly microscopic parts, I would say run them in, and I'd be curious to see how they do. The thing to know off the bat would be our demo tool libraries. I think the smallest tool in there is like a 16th inch, so you definitely want to bring your tool libraries in.
Yeah, that's the main limitation is the default tool libraries we have are large tools, so you won't get results. If you have small tools, then you get results on small parts.
There have been a couple questions about speeds and feeds. So right now, Toolpath, we're not AI generating speeds and feeds for these these operations we're generating. We're using the speeds and feeds from your tool library. With that said, you know what that requires there is setting up presets, which are saved cutting parameters, so speeds and feeds and step down, step over. And you can save multiple presets to a single tool. So, you know, you're going to wall finish at a different cutting parameters than you're going to adaptive rough. This is the setup to Toolpath. We have a tool called Pre-Tool that I believe Al linked in the chat that will generate a list of speeds and feeds, and those are based on Tim Paul's testing on his VF2 SS in the garage. So I've gotten good feedback for aluminum, low carbon, stainless steel. The presets we generate. Of course, all of these are the main feedback I get for people using a machine with similar capabilities to the VF2 and, you know, moderate to high rigidity work holding is, if anything, they're a little conservative for a machine, you know, with kind of those limitations.
I'll
Running-
grab the next one here. It's a question about ITAR. Today we're not on GovCloud, which is really what you want for ITAR. Everything we've done on the server side of things makes it pretty easy for us to put it on GovCloud. It's easier for us. It's funny. It's easier for us to do it as a small company than a big company. Kind of imagine how hard is it to move your small shop into a new secure building. You got 2 machines. It's a lot easier than if you have 1,000 machines. That was kind of the challenge I faced when I was at Fusion. The product was so big and there were so many pieces that needed to move. It's been a struggle. Given that we only export to Fusion right now, it's kind of like a mismatch for us to fully support the GovCloud. But there's nothing in the way technically other than just standing it up on GovCloud. Hopefully that answers your question, Tim.
Cool. I had just a little bit more that I can show you guys. I know we were getting into the weeds there, but I'll show you just a couple more features. All right, let me click OK on this. This is in my way. One sec. All right, you guys see Toolpath still?
Yep.
What's going on? Okay. Yeah, so I just wanted to show the other workflow going from Toolpath to Fusion. So we can export this straight to Fusion. I'm going to open up Fusion. And I can just import this straight into a new document. So if I click OK, there's no work holding involved. There's, you know, it's just going straight into a blank document. But we do have that workflow available to us as well, which is pretty handy if you just want to get something started. Again, because this is in Fusion, all these toolpaths are fully editable. I talked just very briefly about the presets, but we're not only doing geometry selection, but we're making sure that the correct preset is applied. So the correct feeds and speeds. And then just kind of the last thing I want to show you is that if I go back to projects here, if I upload a part with multiple bodies, so in this case, I have a body that looks like this. Maybe it's a water jet blank or something that I'm starting from. If you upload a step file or any sort of solid body with multiple bodies in it, Toolpath can identify those bodies, and then it asks you what's the model and what's the stock. And so if I go into show stock selection, now I can see I have that custom stock set up in Toolpath. When I go to export that to Fusion, and we're just going to do import to new document, click OK. Because we're dumping it into Fusion, we've created that custom stock body. So when it goes to do the roughing or any type of operation that requires kind of that exterior stock, it's taking into account. So you can see that the roughing starts where that stock body started. Yeah, so those are just a couple of features that we have that we're working on. I think it's more important to hear your guys' feedback and questions right now, and then just speak to them. But that's hopefully a quick fire demo that you guys can have a better understanding of Toolpath.
Very good. I should have proposed it at the beginning, but I'm feeling kind of confident in the software today. If somebody wants to upload a step file or any CAD file, I will review it with you live. Somebody asked about a small part and some other parts. If you're willing for everybody else on the call to see it, I'm happy to open it up and work through Toolpath Live with you. Oh, we got a Lawrence is going to send a part. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Oh boy, a Lauren's part.
Oh boy, Lawrence. Lawrence, are you going to stump me? I'm a little nervous. I still have a picture. We should find the picture. I have a picture at Autodesk University in Las Vegas where Lawrence had me in a headlock when I was leading the Fusion team. Let's see how this goes. If there's others on the call too, if something you want to see, happy to work through it. The goal with Ben was to go over a bit of an overview, but I think most software is best learned through experimentation. That's how I always learn. Bruce, we don't support advanced SWRF yet. I think you know that, but oftentimes we'll cover parts of the part. Oscar, throw some parts. Let's look at it together. We got 30 minutes. Throw some. So instead of wondering, we can just throw some parts at it. You've got some sample parts. In terms of 5-axis, though, I can say that today we're 3-axis, but we figure out multiple setups. So what a user could do is get the 4 or 5 setups, and then once you're in Fusion, move them into the 1 setup you want to be your first setup. Yep, SolidWorks file will work. I should probably share I can share my screen for a minute, but any primary CAD format would work. Oh, did you email them to me? Saunders just emailed me. They're coming from all which ways. This is fun. Let's do this. Okay. You should see my screen. Start a new project, live, stump, Al. And where's the Saunders? I got your part here. You sent me a step file. Lawrence, how did you send me files? Lawrence emailed me some files. One option that we do support is forwarding an email. So if I forward an email from the account that has a Toolpath account, they'll show up. Here's Lauren's 3-step files. Did anybody else take me up on the offer before I start looking at these? Let's look in the chat. Email address. You should be able to upload a file to the chat, but if you don't have my email address, al@toolpath.com. There you go. All right, so here's a couple parts they're processing. The good news is they all processed in parallel. That's the thing you want to think about with the AI CAM software. I jokingly call it ham software because now I'm going to help the software as opposed to CAM software where the computer helps me. So we can look at the first part. We've got a couple issues to consider. I'm using the sample aluminum cut config you saw. Ben had the cut config of the machines actually in our brother. So this first part, we're identifying, whose was this? Was this Lauren's? So we've got some red on the part. The red doesn't mean that it's not machinable, it means it's not machinable with my tool library. We can see here that I can actually machine the whole part if I just add this 1/2 inch Kennametal tool to it. So that's gonna require a recompute. We'll go ahead and run that. And it's going to kind of send it back through the process. So the way the system works, this is probably a good chance to explain it. It's saying, can I machine the part with the tools that you have today? It's like a kind of a phone. The best phone you have is the one in your pocket, or the best camera you have is the one in your pocket, which is often the phone. The best tool is the one that's in your machine. The second best tool is the one that comes from that's in your shop, and the third best tool is the one that comes from a vendor that you like working with. So now this part is more machinable. There's still some features we didn't have a tool for. This is actually a pretty good example. I know why this didn't work. That feature is, we can click on it. That feature takes a 1/4 inch end mill. We've got 1/4 inch end mills, but we don't have one that's long enough without the holder hitting the side of the part. So it's good to know that we're taking that into account. Actually, that was probably a good thing to show. I don't think you showed that, Ben, so I'll show that. You can also click on a feature and see what tool we've chosen. And if you don't like the choice, you could switch it to another compatible tool. So it's probably nice to know that that's an option. So we figured out your part. We didn't do that inner fillets because I don't have that 1/4 inch tool, and it didn't have a long enough one in the recommendation library. Let's export that to Fusion.
Al, Mark's just asked whether or not that 1/2 inch end mill you just picked has a cut config or not. So you might want to just explain that part.
Yeah, the recommendation libraries do have cut configs baked into them. I'll distract myself for a minute, and it's actually something that we probably need to make a little better. John actually reached out to me this morning and said it sucks, and he's not wrong. The cut config is kind of the overarching, I'll call it an Uber tool library. At some point, maybe we'll just call it a tool library. But it takes the geometry of the tools and how you want to use them. There's kind of 2 ways the game works, our AI game works. The first way is these are tools that are all set up and you have them, and they run the first time you run the game. And you have tool libraries that are like, these are the ones in my machine, that's high priority. And you could have a second library active that are medium priority because they're ones in your shop. The recommendation library also has all of the same information in it, except it just cascades and it only picks those tools after we tried to fully machine the part with the tools that were in the primary library. But those recommendation libraries are still full libraries with all of them. You can use them interchangeably where maybe the tools are a primary library, the ones that are in your Haas, and the tools in your Brother might be you might actually use them as a recommendation library for jobs you're running on the Haas because you want it to only grab a tool out of the other machine if you must use it. Hope that answers the question. So where was I at? You distracted me, but the distraction was good. Let's go back to that part. This is the one we had ready. We're going to export to Fusion. And now I just need to switch my share. Fusion. Anyway, bonus points for anybody that recognizes what this part is, by the way. So I'm going to import into a new document. And now this is where the AI took over Fusion. You can kind of think of it like we grabbed onto the steering wheel of Fusion, the Fusion car, and made all the decisions from the 2 setups that we had. So Lawrence, I think we didn't do too terrible a job on that part. I don't know if you're sending me a softball, but that actually worked okay. Couple of things that we need to get on the adaptive, some parameters. Actual customer part. Should we go look at John's part now? I'm going to switch back to, and then I might look at another one of your parts. Let's switch back.
Al, we have a question in the chat about well, does the software recognize the speeds and feeds it should use for a particular material? Um, so yeah,
Yeah,
Lester,
it's a good question. Today, we're working to make that better. Today, you build your cut config based on a material, and you'd have your speeds and feeds based on that material. We haven't we've kind of crossed the line in a subtle way where we're not the ones deciding the speeds and feeds, but we have built pre-tool and we are building pre-tool into the software to help you build a library of speeds and feeds. That to me is going to be the holy grail of CAM automation. If I sorry if I'm going off on a tangent, but if I think about what we had to solve when we were building Fusion, it was how do we make it easy for everybody to get post processors? That was the mess that existed. You pay for a custom post for every Haas machine and every track machine and every brother machine, even though they're the same when they leave the factory. We had to figure out how we built good libraries of posts and make it easy for you to get yours set up. Getting your cutting data into Toolpath is the bottleneck to scaling automation. And some of that is going to be working with tooling vendors, like we worked with Haas to build good tool libraries. And some of that is going to be making it easy for you to create your own tools.
And Al, would you mind just going and showing the cutting rules page in the cut config?
Cutting rules page. Yeah, this is gonna change quite a bit. But it's kind of like that mapping of, so I can kind of talk through this. For every tool, with the system is doing what you do in your head. It's first saying, does that tool fit into this geometry? I love using a face mill example. A 2-inch face mill would fit into a 2-inch hole, but it's not designed for drilling. So does it fit into that hole? That's a geometry problem. Am I allowed to use it in this context? That's the role problem. When I use it in this context, what are the speeds and feeds? And that's the cutting preset part of the problem. I hope that was helpful. If I'm bouncing all over the place, apologies. But if you wanted like structured content, that's what YouTube's for. If you want a live conversation, that to me is what a webinar is for. So these are fun. So that's John's part. John, I love that. It looks like, just looking at the name, it looks like this part's a fixture. To me, it's a great use case for Toolpath, where the art of the Toolpath matters less. A part that's going to hold another part quickly is really what you're after. And in this case, we machine this whole part. Either you guys are my friends, which you're my friends, but you're my friends because you tell me when stuff doesn't work. So I don't know if you softballed me or not, but this one here, we fully machine by adding a Kennametal tool.
Hey, I'll give you one for this one. How can we get Toolpath to show its homework, and like, why did it need to use the recommended tool there?
Yeah, I'll wait for a second for the game to rerun. While it's doing that, I'm gonna answer a question, but you just want to see that. Yeah. Give me 30 seconds while that runs. We do a lot of, Sean's got a ton of questions. We do a lot of parts that the toolpath looks very important. Many parts take longer, but look nice. Yeah, Sean, that's a great question. And I think this is why I abhor anybody that talks about a skills gap and talks about automation solving a skills gap problem. That's a load of crap. What automation will solve is the mundane tasks, so if humans can focus on more important things. To me, in machining, there's probably 3 categories of more important things. One of those is building quality process and spending your time on that. The next one, where you can kind of see a leading indicator of what the problem is. If you go to an open house for a machine tool vendor, the AE is spending all their time setting up automation cells. And then I think the third, you brought up a good example, the art of the toolpath matters. But often the artistic toolpath is one surface where you want like a domed face to have a spiral or a radial cut or something like that. That's the kind of thing that the human should be focused on. You shouldn't have to be worried about the kind of the mundane tasks involved in machining the foundation of the part. Hopefully that answered your question, Sean, but feel free to dig in more. I think it's important to know what this is good at and what it's bad at. Okay. You had a question for me, Paul. You wanted to see why a tool was selected. So yeah, I love going into the cursor mode. That's just the way I like to work. But once you turn the cursor mode on, you can pick any geometry.
I'm going to air out our dirty laundry and help you out a little bit there. If you ever notice that cursor mode isn't working like it was for Al for a minute there, just hover over the right side of the screen right now. We're working on that.
Yeah. So I selected the tool. If you click the change tool, now you're going to see what you can see all the tools that we said were 100% compatible. You can see which one we picked. You can see why some tools weren't picked. The chamfer tool can't be used to run a contour, so that was a wrong tool type. In some cases, the diameter is too large. This is actually a case that we're working on allowing you to set. So there could be some cases where you're like, well, I don't care about that tight radius. I want to force it to use a bigger tool. And we'll actually open that up to let you force it to do something that didn't make sense. But this change tool is a good way to see how Toolpath looks at tools and which one it decided. And it starts to become intuitive why. The 3/8 tool is obviously going to remove the material faster than the 1/4 inch, even though the 1/4 was acceptable. We don't use barrel tools yet, Eric. No. You could choose to. Yeah, I think the way you want to think about this though is we are not a full self-driving car yet. We're at the point that we'll tell you if we were going to run a stop sign. We don't know if a paper bag is going to run in front of the car. Maybe that's a good way to say it. But we sure hope that we accelerate things a lot. So you just go into Fusion and make a change there. I don't want to claim that you're not doing any changes in Fusion now. That's the dream. That there's more and more you don't need to do in Fusion, but the more we automate, the more you're going to push the limits of what you do in what I'll call a manual CAM system. So I think there's constantly going to be a leading edge where humans are using manual tools to push the limits while we're automating the mundane parts of it. Oscar, well, you can email it to me. Did you email it to me, Oscar? One last part. Oh, I got one more part from got one more part in my email. Silo, you sent me a part that's clearly 4-axis. I'll just straight up say it's not going to give you any results.
Al, can we see the export to Fusion for the fixture?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. All right, so we're gonna just so you know, you can install the add-in here, but we'll copy the code, and that'll be a good time for me to show a part that we will not work on.
Missed the fact that there's a link there for the add-in now. That's a logical and nice touch.
Yeah. Okay. You see my Fusion again? You can see a part that's a no-go for us. It's a bunch of wrapped features. One day it will be. Justin, our CTO, is starting to think about these sorts of problems, but not there yet. So in this case, I'm creating a new Fusion doc. This is John's file. Thank you, John. And how did we go about doing this? So we've attacked We've attacked it by roughing it first. I love the in-process stock infusion. Incidentally, we're looking at adding in-process stock into Toolpath as well. I have a secret mode. I can turn that on. It is kind of funny the way Toolpath works sometimes, and you wonder, like, is it smart? But we're playing a game of the most efficient way of removing material, and often the game says, "Well, I'll rough it before I face it," even though users we often face first. So I might choose to just reorder it, although it doesn't really matter. This outside profile, I'm going to see what I would do. Oh, wow, we're smart. So we machined past the bottom. It's a good tip and trick for a machinist to machine past the edge so you don't get a burr when you flip it. That was something we did automatically. I don't know what you think about that, John, but I'm pretty happy with that. We use pretty good use where we can of 3D toolpaths are just a safer way of machining the part and making sure there's not a collision. This adaptive seems to have done what we wanted. Yeah. You're all good, Danny. That wasn't a 3+2 part though. That was a true 4-axis part. If it was 3+2, we actually would have been okay-ish. We would have made a bunch of setups. You could have dragged them into one part, but this one's got wrapped geometry on it. All right, good to know for the future, Oscar. I'll post my email at the beginning. Oh, Oscar, I got a file. I got a CAD file from you. Should we do it? Should I do one more? This is fun. Hopefully it's fun for you guys. It's fun for me to find out if our stuff is any good. All right, here we go, Oscar. What do you got? Am I showing my screen? I wasn't showing my screen. Sorry. There's Oscar's part right there. You see my screen now? So while I'm waiting, I'm going to use the banana and get a sense of how big the part is. That's fun, right? We got 5 minutes left. So yeah, we'll run. We'll see live how quickly the process runs. Hide the banana. And so doing this part, Oscar, thank you. This is a great example. This shows that we fundamentally know how to solve 3+2. The hard part of the problem is done. If we look at it, we've attacked the back side of the part first, and then we attack the top side, and then we're going to work our way around each of those pockets in individual setups. But I'm sure it doesn't take somebody overly creative to realize that if we solve that much of the problem, solving the last bit won't be a challenge. You should be seeing my screen. So Oscar, we're bringing your part into Fusion now. And again, we've attacked the backside, roughing and finishing that. That was all expected. We attacked this side here. And now the issue is we've got these toolpaths. That facing toolpath is ugly. That's no good. Yeah, actually this is no good too. You wouldn't want to rough that away. But some of it's good. So what I would probably do here is take the facing toolpath, the boring toolpath, maybe the contour, and I could drag those up into this setup. And if we regenerate that, let's see what happens. And then I'll have to go through and reset the angles. So it's not perfectly ideal, but at least you can see that we've identified all the orientations. That help. Again, I don't want to. The last thing we want to do is oversell the product.
Al, Oscar had asked about how it handles those intersecting holes, which I'm also curious about.
Okay, I think it's probably easier now that I messed that one up. My suspicion is it attacked this hole from the backside. I didn't have a drill the right size, so it bored that hole out from that side, and then each of the orientations. In this case, we bored because we didn't have a drill. It attacked it from the given orientation. What would you have expected to do, Oscar? What would you have done? It will use a drill if it has a drill the right size. It'll use an end mill and bore if it has to. There's some tolerance data that we have. I'm stretching my live demo skills here, but I'll show it and then we should probably wrap.
Yeah, I think just to also show where in the UI you can specify which drill to use, and then yeah, we need to.
So if we go to the cut config, there's a drilling tolerance here right now. Mine's set at 1/10. I don't know if you guys can see that. So the drill has to match plus or minus 1/10 for it to choose to drill. But you could open that tolerance up if you want to. What gets really interesting for me when we get to the point that we actually have model-based dimensioning and tolerancing on a file, then we can start to think about automating some of those decisions. But the first thing is, can we automate the toolpaths for something not thinking about tolerance? And we'll start that next bit.
Do you want to just go into one of the part reports there, Al, and just show where you can specify the drills on the holes?
Sorry, where do you want me to go?
If you go to that part, John Saunders, but even that one there, yeah, and then go to the setups, I think it is. And then, yeah, just so you've got the through holes showing up there. You can.
Yeah, so today we're just saying it's a hole, but you could set it being threaded. That might have been, maybe I was misinterpreting the question. Thank you.
And then, yeah, based on tool availability, it will then.
All my friends that usually attack me are happy today. That's good. Thank you, Oscar. It looks like quite a few people stuck around. I'm curious for a webinar format. Was this? I love being in the hot seat. Was this interesting? Was it a waste of your time to do this live? Throw some parts at me approach. Let us know. I'm happy to do this on a Wednesday. I see thumbs up. All right. Well, thank you. Next time I'll have to get harder parts, but what I'll do is I'll just tell you if it's not a fit, it's not a fit. Well, with that, I have a board meeting I got to jump to. John, I guess you have a board meeting you got to jump to too, don't you? So I'll let you guys wrap this up.
Cool. Thanks, Al, for going through all those parts. That was pretty fun. I think maybe the next webinar could just be free for all. Bring your part, and we'll see how it goes. That should be fun. Real quick, I'll show you guys how the part came out. You guys are all machinists and programmers, so you've seen lots of shiny aluminum parts, but pretty cool to see where we're at with Toolpath right now and how useful it was to be able to use Toolpath to help us machine that part. So thanks again, guys, and we will see you next time we do a webinar. Thanks for all of your input, and we appreciate you all.
Cheers. Thanks for letting me sit in the hot seat. It was fun.
See you guys.
See ya.